Let's take a look and see what Moody's has to say about Israel, shall we? Coming from the Hedge, says in a first, Moody's downgrades Israel credit rating as war takes its toll. Says for the first time in its history, the state of Israel has seen its credit rating downgraded. This should be something we should be not only looking at. I mean, this is something that should be getting talked about. That's significant for the first time in its history. That's something to keep in mind here. Let's take a look. It says first time in its history, the state of Israel has seen its credit rating downgraded as Moody's on Friday took the country's rating down one notch to AA. So okay, just to clear it up, you know how I said they were rating the stuff back in 2007, the garbage bonds and securities AAA. So it goes AAA, AA, single A, and then it goes to triple B, double B, and down that way. So they took Israel from the top to the next notch down, which is double A. So that's what that is. That is not the right article. There we go. Sorry. So they took him down to double A and said the rating outlook going forward is negative. The country's ongoing war with Hamas and occupation of Gaza will materially raise political risk for Israel, as well as weaken its executive and legislative institutions and its fiscal strength for the foreseeable future, said Moody's, which added that the conflict will create deficits over upcoming years that will be significantly larger than expected before the conflict. So I got one more thing on that, but Israel's been involved with a lot of conflicts in the past. I'm sure you guys are well aware of that. None of those dropped their rating, but this one did. I got a little flashing red light when I see that. Got a little flashing red light. Let's keep going. So there's no end in sight. Indeed, Israel is on the threshold of a new phase that promises to be militarily and economically costly while further isolating the country. Here we go. While further isolating the country politically. What do we know is going to happen from here on forward with Israel and other countries? They're going to slowly start backing away from Israel until she's all on her own. And then, as we know, Ezekiel 38, God is going to rescue Israel because they're going to be on their own. We're getting something in this article that says that that's what the outlook is for Israel. That's important. That's telling us we look through prophecy, we know what's going to be happening, and now we're seeing it written in ink on the same at the same time they just downgraded their credit rating. This is important. This is very, very important. Let's keep going. It says it goes into this stuff, having herded Palestinian civilians from northern Gaza and the southern part of the Strip, IDF now plans to order them out of the southern city of Rafah. We know what's going on with that, with the rescue that just happened, as a precursor to further attack there. And the move promises to compound the ongoing humanitarian disaster. It doesn't matter which side of it we can sit there and look. There's a lot of it's a humanitarian disaster no matter what. Be praying for the lives of all those over there that they find Jesus Christ. Seriously, guys. Says Israeli Prime Minister Bibi responded to Moody's announcement with a rare statement issued on Shabbat, the Jewish day of rest, in which he was dismissive of the historic downgrade. So this is even so significant that even Bibi has come out and said something about that. So that's another indicator that there's more going on to this than just, Moody's decided to downgrade Israel's credit. So that's something to keep in mind. Bibi said, The Israeli economy is strong. The rating downgrade is not connected to the economy. It is entirely due to the fact that we are in a war. The rating will go back up the moment we win the war, and we will win the war. And then it goes on to say the Moody's credit downgrade comes on the heels of a failed attempt by House Speaker Mike Johnson to advance a standalone aid package that would have shipped off another $17.6 billion in American wealth to Israel, in a sign of growing exasperation with the relentless funding of foreign wars, while the national debt races above 34 trillion. 14 Republicans voted against the proposal. And finishing this off, says the Israeli Knesset is currently working on its 2024 budget. A current proposal imposes a 3% across the board spending cut across the board on almost all government agencies, as it targets a deficit equal to up to 6.6% of GDP. In the wake of October 7 attack, S&P and Fitch both switched their outlook. So it's not just Moody's. Both switched their outlook on Israeli debt to negative. S&P has said it will update its ratings on May 10th. So we know what's going on in May with the meeting. Keep an eye on this. Write it on a sticky note or put it in your phone to give you a thing or not. Make sure we check and see what S&P rates Israel's credit rating on that. So we got a lot in that article that's important, significant enough. BB's going to comment on it. It talks about how you're going to start seeing people backing away from Israel, which again, that only shows what the Bible already tells us is going to happen. So they're even declaring it. And again, this war above all else has knocked down Israel. Now remember, these ratings agencies are controlled. So that's something to keep in mind on this. So while Israel's economy is holding strength, something about this war has created credit agencies downgrading the country's rating for the first time in its history. Similar to how Israel's stock market saw massive selling several days before the October 7th attack. That's something that I paid attention to. I haven't necessarily said anything about, but the stock market actually did a massive amount of selling a couple days before the October 7th attack, which says somebody on the inside knew that that was going to happen. So it indicated prior knowledge. It's possible that we're seeing something else here as well. So that's something to keep in mind. Who's pulling strings? Who knows what's going to happen? Who has the information on this? So something to keep in mind on the prophetic side of things. Could this explode into something like Isaiah 17? Could that be an expansion of this into something like Isaiah 17? Because it's possible that's something that we could see while we're here. It is something that we could see. I believe that it's a future event. Isaiah 17, some people like to say it already happened. There's people currently dwelling in the city of Damascus, which means that wasn't the event, because it said it would cease from being a city. Well, it's still a city now with people living there. So I think it's going to be a future event. Could this be something that's coming? Does somebody have future knowledge of what's going to happen, and so there's the manipulation of finances to do so? I don't know. To downgrade now seems to lean, I'm not predicting anything, but it seems to lean that a larger escalation will happen. All we can do is just wait and see. That's all we can do. But we're getting some information here that seems to point towards this increasing from here. So definitely something to keep in mind. May 10th. I know that's kind of just hard to remember. Oh, I got to go check the credit rating from S&P about Israel. It's worth checking. I'm going to try and remember to check that too myself.